Hi guys, I hope this video finds you well wherever you are. I am currently in the middle of a forest. It's actually a deer forest and there are deers around. I have a feeling that deers are safe, so I'm trying, which is very appropriate for this day's soul talk, which is about finding bravery. So today I really wanted to talk about finding the courage or bravery to become and live as your authentic self. I thought that I could best share that with just sharing how I feel like I have reached to that point. I feel like you're constantly discovering new ways to be brave, new ways to be courageous. So it's just going to be a talk about that. There's no like proper structure. I haven't even written down anything. I'm more just going to be talking from heart. So about bravery, I think that a lot of things around bravery and living a life that is authentic to yourself, I really feel comes with not only practice, but continuously building your confidence in small things. Some of you who follow me on Instagram know that I learned to swim much later in life. Like I taught myself how to swim, I think when I was like around 26, 25. And that was such a big deal for me because I had always somehow been afraid of water. And of course you're afraid of water if you can't swim. I really have huge respect for the elements of nature, and that's why even like being here, like I'm like, yo, this is nice, this is an airplane. Okay, so what was I saying? So being very aware that nature is not really to be messed with, and not that nature I feel is cruel, but nature requires you to have a certain amount of understanding before you immerse yourself in its elements. And water for me had always been something that I wanted to feel more comfortable in. I wanted to be a good swimmer. I had a friend I met while I was in boarding school, and she was a literal fish on land. And when I would see her in her element water, she used to love to swim. She was so graceful. And that feeling of freedom and being weightless is something that I've always wanted to feel. But the idea of being fully immersed in this element that I knew I wasn't strong enough to navigate really freaked me out. But I do remember looking at her with a sense of, oh my goodness, I wish I could do that. One day I want to be able to do that. Just the maybe practice of learning to swim never caught me until much later in life. I never got the opportunity to learn like officially, and none of my parents really knew how to swim. And me and my siblings would still of course play in water, but we would just be messing around and as close to the to the beginning of the beach or the sea or the ocean or the river as possible, and always able to touch the floor. But I remember when I was 26 and I was like, okay, so this is the year I learned how to swim. And I remember like building up my confidence slowly. Like I would go to the swimming pool that was connected to the gym I had a membership in. And I remember like spending some times at the bench, like looking at the people as they were swimming. And then afterwards, I would like kind of repeat that, or I'd watch videos at home before I went to the swimming pool and just repeat those techniques. And like being very cautious, like being very close to the wall and just kind of like watching people, even if I had to watch them under the water. I was like, it's okay if you're weird, it's okay if it's awkward, you're learning something new, but just I kept that goal in mind, the feeling of progressing and being better and finally being able to swim. And as the weeks progressed and I'd go back there, I think I went there several times a week. I built on and built on, and finally I was able to swim like the whole lap without holding on to the edge, and then swimming back and forth, and then finally like being a bit away from the edge, but always wanting to be somewhere where I could kind of feel the bottom. And then that progressed once I felt like, okay, I feel strong enough. I know what to do. I know I have my plan B. Like if I feel like I'm panicking, I know what to do. I know how to calm myself down. But at least I knew all the strengths I had, and I knew what to do when I was panicking. I feel like this experience with swimming is kind of like how I have applied my approach to building up confidence and bravery in the things I wanted to live out, experience, or embody in myself. It was always like, okay, that's where I want to go. This is where I am. What am I scared of? What is the worst that could happen? How do I make sure that I can have the safest progression in this endeavor to feel more brave or feel more confident in this area? And also just basically trusting that the more effort I put into something, because it's from a place of just really wanting to do it, of really enjoying the activity, or really enjoying the possibility of being able, for example, to travel confidently, or to live abroad in foreign countries with ease, or to speak foreign languages, even though you're not great at them. I remember like just knowing that as long as I can just do one little thing and add on that, then by the time I look back, even though it's a small step, I'll know that I've gotten further and further. And that's how I've approached the majority of my things. I remember also when it came to traveling, that's what I did. Like I told you in my previous video about travel and travel privilege and my experience with traveling, I remember also even with that, like taking smaller and smaller things that made me feel like, okay, I am out of my comfort zone, but not too much. Like going on internships, study abroad, because you still have the structure of safety, and then afterwards moving abroad like with nothing, or maybe like, okay, I knew someone there, I was moving to live with my partner, or maybe when I finally then moved for jobs and I already had secured the job before I moved. I don't think I'm there where I could actually just pack my bags and land in a country and have no plan, no idea. I'm not at that level, and I don't know if that's my kind of approach to feeling safe and brave. And that's also another important thing, that you need to know what is important for you to feel like you can dare to be more brave. Because I feel like if we don't feel safe to some regard, or we don't feel grounded in some other more known foundation, it's harder for us to aspire to feel more confident or try new things, or take on new endeavors. So for me, that is something I've learned after my 33 years on earth, that I need something that kind of creates a foundation that I'm secure in, and then I can build something new on. I tried that once, the whole idea of just jump in fully. I didn't like that. And I could feel like that gave me so much anxiety that it kind of made me numb and stagnant, because I felt like I was frozen by the anxiety of feeling like there's nothing I can grab onto. I also wonder if that's also because of maybe how I grew up, and the fact that I didn't grow up with the most safe kind of feeling, or a place of feeling like at least at home everything was kind of stable and leveled. And so because I never really had that in my journey towards my own healing, it was always important that I created that for myself. And once I could create a sense of safety for myself in different ways, or create a sort of foundation for myself, I realized it was much easier for me to thrive. It was much easier for me to dare, and it was much easier for me to explore new ways, new things, new places, new experiences, or new endeavors as well. Just checking that there are no creeps behind me, the usual girl alone in the woods kind of thing. No creeps or animals. That I also feel like those kinds of things are about building confidence, right? So if you have a sense of safety that makes you feel safe enough to dare and add new things that stretch you out of your comfort zone, then you see yourself succeeding in those new steps, or in those new levels or progressions or experiences. Then you build your confidence. And the more confidence you have with fitness, for example, right? Confidence, I feel, is the muscle we have. Like when we build our muscles, when we do strength training and we build up great muscles, a great core, a great back, all of these things help us move through the world differently. They make us more able to have better posture, which is important, but also you have better balance because you have more the connection between your muscles. And this is not my forte, guys, but I don't know, I feel like you get what I'm saying, that because you've built muscles and you have an armor that you've built up through strength around your bones, and you can kind of hold yourself through different postures, which also means that you can challenge your body even more, which also means that if something was to come at you because you have a strong core, or you have strong back, or you have strong thighs that can carry you through life, or strong hands. I'm really weak. I'm more weak on my upper body, but my lower body is much stronger. And so because I have confidence in it, because I train it, because I know that I use it, because I know how to move through it, because I've stretched, I like to do my yoga, I like to do my strength training, I like to do my walks, I like to do all this, my hikings, and I feel my muscles, and I know what I have with me, right? Because I know what I have with me, it's also easier for me then to show up more authentically, or to show up and try new things, because I have the confidence within myself because of these daily things that I do. The more that we build our confidence, and the more we feel safe within ourselves, the easier it is for us to take risks outside of ourselves. That can be maybe expressing your opinion, your honest opinion, because you know that, no, this is really what I believe in. I have a great foundation on why this is important for me to express it the way I do. Or if it's like the lifestyle you want to live, and maybe you're in a family or in a structure or society that wants things to be a certain way, because you've taken time to build your own inner strength, inner core, it's kind of easier for you then. And you've taken these little challenges that build your confidence, that stretch you, but you add to this foundation that makes you feel stronger and stronger, and more like a sense of mastering your surrounding, mastering who you are, and mastering what makes you you, and mastering your weaknesses, or even knowing and being aware of them. Then it kind of feels like it's hard for other people to threaten you, or their opinions to threaten you, or their way of life to threaten you, because you within your own self are more grounded in who you are and what those things mean to you and how you want to exist on this earth. There's always this understanding that the more you learn to master yourself, the easier it is to exist, obviously. Master your weaknesses, master your strengths, master your processes, master ways of thriving, mastering your warning or red flags, so that you know when you have to adjust to something, when you need to adjust something or change it or scrap it. I feel like you can't get to that part until you make space to get to know yourself, really get to know yourself. That's why, like, even in my holistic sessions, when I talk with people, I always say that one of the best things you can do for yourself is figure out what is your worldview, why do you have that particular worldview, what are your values, what is your life philosophy, and not only what they are, but who gave them to you, and why did those people give it to you? Like, is it the best, or is it the only one? Is it culture? Is it patriarchy? Is it capitalism? Is it colonialism? Is it Eurocentrism? There's so many things that we don't question, and yet we build our entire foundations on top of them. And because we build our foundation on things that we're not truly connected to, it's kind of harder for us to feel confident in them. And I feel like when we don't question that for ourselves, that's also often when we find that disconnect. We wouldn't thrive, and we would never know what it really feels like to show up and feel grounded in who you are, in your worldview, in your philosophy, in your values, and have things that you know really make sense to you as a being. Now, I'm talking about this as a person who is a woman, who loves differently, who lives in a world that is dominated by maybe Eurocentrism, and who lives in a capitalistic, mostly patriarchal, structured world. And it's so well structured that we don't even recognize anymore that this world is the way it is, because some people sew it to fit their worldview best, and therefore the rest of us are just kind of like making it work, but it's not really connected to our spirit, it's not really connected to our essence or our self or our center. And so how do you do that? Well, you have to get to know yourself. You have to get to know what's really important for you, and also what makes sense to you, what doesn't make sense to you. Trying to live out truths or ways of being that don't really make sense to you will never make you feel confident, will never make you feel courageous, and will never make you feel like you can dare to become the person that you truly want to be, because you won't have that foundation in which to jump from that you really feel connected to. And I feel when it comes to bravery and courage, it's not about obviously not having fear, but having a good enough reason to dare to do the things you want to do, right? So even with me when I was learning to swim, it wasn't that I wasn't afraid, I didn't fear drowning or any of that. I just really loved the idea of one day being able to be at ease and peace in water, and feeling strong, and being able to enjoy such a magnificent element of life and earth, right? So the why and the reason I wanted to accomplish the what, right, made it easier for me to keep going and to dare to be brave, because whenever fear and discouragement would come my way, I remember, but this is why I want to do it, and this is what I imagine I can do after I get to that point. And it's the same when I went to my endeavors on traveling abroad or changing the way I see work and life and soul work and maybe having a normal job. Like all of those things, I could dare to change and write my own narrative because I was more grounded in my why, which made it easier to pursue the what. And I'd also say, even when it comes to, for example, loving the way I love now, because I used to be in heterosexual relationships and dating a woman now and being able to be as fully present with that and not feel like I'm struggling with maybe my own homophobia within myself or inner judgment, was kind of like questioning those things and trying to navigate from a place of, where did I learn that? Why did I learn that? And why is that good? Why is that bad? When it comes to those kinds of things, questioning what I believed in, why I had the fear, what's the worst that could happen, and questioning, where did I learn that? Why did I learn that way? Is there another worldview that could give me a different understanding? Is it another philosophy that could give me another understanding? Do I fully agree with this understanding of the situation, the world, or the idea or the adventure, whatever it might be I'm questioning? And if I feel I don't, and I find a different way of connecting to that, for example, with loving people of the same gender, I always question, like, something that's really important to me. My simple philosophy is literally live and let live. Um, and I believe that the world would be a better place if we all learn to just mind our own business, not in a detached way where you see people being abused and you're like, that's not my business, because I feel like that's kind of weird and it's very sad when people get to that point. But what I mean by that is, you do you, I do me. Like, as long I'm hearing stuff. Remember, you're okay, you're safe. You're okay, you're safe. You're okay, you're safe. Okay. Have mantras. One of my favorite philosophies is live and let live. And do no harm, or do as little harm as possible to others, to where you live, to your environment, and whatever have you. Like, those are very important principles for me, and I can kind of sum up my philosophy of life, or what I aim to do as a person, in those two. I really feel connected to ideas that are very liberating of each other. And I also believe that as long as something does not cause harm to someone, I don't see a problem in that. So loving someone of the same gender couldn't be an issue for me because it didn't override my values or my philosophy in life. So it wasn't as hard anymore to feel brave in showing up as somebody who is in the same gender loving relationship. What I'm trying to say by that, whereas if I was doing that with an understanding that maybe I should have had as a person who was formerly a Christian, I would even argue that maybe even God say, judge not lest ye be judged. But what I'm trying to say is, because I have a different worldview that is more authentic to myself, that feels more grounded in what is important to me, what makes sense to me. This is also why I left religion, because after really trying to be encompassed by it and understanding it, I discovered that a lot of it didn't make sense to me, and I couldn't believe and stand firmly in something that doesn't make sense to me. And it did not make sense to me because I couldn't understand it, but how it was put together, I was like, that doesn't, I'm not aligned with that. I don't connect to that anymore. And so it became also something that gave me more bravery to dare find something else, be something else, dare to imagine something else. So basically, I think for me, that has been my approach in becoming more brave, becoming more confident, and showing up in a way that feels authentic to me. Really understanding that in order to get to my what, I need to have a strong why. And I need to understand even my fears, or the things that cause me to feel less brave, that feel fearful. What are they based in? Are they based in realities? Like, what kind of understanding of the world, understanding of myself, understanding of my purpose makes me believe that that is the truth, right? Questioning things has always been something that has been very natural to me since I was a child. And I really feel like it's something that has liberated me in so many ways, because a lot of things that we think are normal don't stand up to scrutiny. I think that's how you say it. Like the more you ask and the more you dig, you realize that a lot of things that we have on us to make us feel like we have to be a certain way and live a certain way are not really things that are really based in what do you call it, a neutral reality, right? They are things of agendas, of people's perspective, of ideologies, of dogma. And when you realize that, you kind of think, I'm not interested in that. I'm really honestly interested in being on this planet and having a pure is a hard word, as authentic as possible of a human experience as I can, and as a human experience of me as May in this body, in this flesh, in this color, in this size. I'm really interested in having as true of an experience on this earth before I leave as I possibly can. And I think like that's also the other thing that helps me become more brave and courageous is really understanding a different approach to life and death, and reevaluating everything I understood about death before. That has been something that has really liberated me in so many ways and made me feel more courageous. I feel like that by itself deserves like a proper video, and I think it's something I would love to research properly so that I could put something together for you, that maybe is more of value than just now where I'm just rambling. But I would really say that when I realized, because a lot of our fears, like at the end of all those fears, is the okay, the worst that could happen, you die, you know? And realizing what is death, what is my understanding of death, who gave me this understanding of death. Even like when you're swimming or doing other adventures, moving abroad, moving across the ocean to visit a man that you met on Instagram. There's all these stuff that you do that you have to be like, what are my risks? What's the worst that could happen? What do I feel about the worst thing that could happen? And I think also reevaluating that for myself, the idea of my philosophy of life and death, my philosophy of what it means to be alive, my philosophy of even all the little deaths we experience daily, weekly, monthly. Especially as a woman, we are more connected to the life and death cycle just by being women. But I feel like even in the way we live our life, there's a lot of people that think they're alive and they're so safe in everything they do. They don't recognize that they've already started the process of killing themselves while they're still alive, because they're cutting off parts of themselves. They are suppressing parts of themselves. They're cutting off their connection to their soul, and they're doing it in the name of feeling safe and having safety. But I also really understand that a lot of us live that way because we grew up in such unsafe spaces that we came to value safety so much that we're willing to even die to stay safe. Whereas freedom sometimes also comes with a sacrifice of some sort of death, you know, or at least a closer, a closer relationship with death to some degree, you know, death of your community or death of your family, in the sense of maybe people rejecting you, or death of the life you thought you were supposed to have, death of the expectations you had for yourself. There's so many things that you also have to be willing to let die in order for you to live an authentic life, to live an authentic life that makes sense to you. I think for me it's also quite important that I live on this earth in a way that exactly does that, that makes sense to me. It's easier for me to be here when I feel like this makes sense. Like being in the woods, making this video feels like it makes sense. Do I feel like I'm out of my comfort zone? Yes, but I love nature. I love being engulfed in nature. But at the same time, because I know that nature is so unpredictable and big, who am I kidding? I'm like in freaking Scandinavia. Like, what's the worst that could happen? We don't even have wildlife here. Like, a deer? A deer comes by? Anyway, let's stay focused. What I'm trying to say, what was I saying? I'm so sorry, guys. I'm babbling now. Making sense, yes, right? But I feel good here because look at me. I'm here. I'm one in nature. I'm sitting amongst the earth and I feel calm. Like, I also like the idea of being more in wilder spaces. Like that has been like my mission the last few months, and I've had a few adventures that put me in those spaces. So this is me building confidence in something that I would naturally or usually feel a bit more, you know, like intimidated by. Anyway guys, so that's basically how I've built a better relationship with being my authentic self and having the courage and bravery and finding the bravery to do so. It's not because you're not afraid, but it's meeting the things you're fearful of with curiosity to understand them. I really feel like the greatest remedy to fear is curiosity. And once you have that kind of process, it's easier for you to have to find the next step, to find the next step of bravery or the next step of courage to take. So I feel like basically, even to sum up that whole video, it would be that like I've always been able to find a way to invite curiosity when I am met with fear. Not maybe right away, but eventually I'm like, how could this help me grow? How can this help me find another perspective in life? And I feel like by doing that, it has made it easier for me to find bravery and to find courage. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this is of value, and I hope that you're finding courage and you're finding bravery to pursue and live the way that you want to live. And also, this is also something I want to be very transparent about. For me, it's a constant process. I don't really see an end goal, but I just trust my process because I see how far I've come and how far it's brought me. So I trust my methods because I see the fruits, I guess, of that. And I think once you get into that motion with your own life and your own goals and your own desires and your own vision of your own true life, true way of living, and you start seeing those little fruits, those little seeds that you planted blossoming, blooming, and bearing fruit, that will build your confidence and that will build your trust in yourself. And once you have that, it's easier for you to meet more new challenges or new things that require you to be courageous and brave. There, I hope you're blooming wherever life has planted you. I hope you are being very kind to yourself. And I look forward to talking to you in my next video. Do take care. Bye. I know what it is to be broken and be bold. Tell you that my silver is gold. Though it's a make I know what it's like to be whole and not be held. Funny how a stomach unfed seems satisfied 'cause it's round and swollen. You coming, shooting across the sky like a star.